people go on to Joe Rogan to like hear the guests, but they're there for Joe and the reason of how he asks questions and how he
You think
will
so?
push. I 100% think so. Because then let's use Daddy Huberman.
Who's
right?
that?
Andrew
Huberman.
Andrew Huberman. I just call him Daddy Huberman. Let's use Daddy Huberman, right? So like, if I
hold on.
Okay,
you gotta. Okay, so
tell me
I
what
want to
you
keep all this, for the podcast. So we'll keep about a fist distance from the mic.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put record. We'll be silent until I'll bring you on. Or did I say
Do you have any structure to it?
Well, I'll intro and then we just go.
Talk.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, 3, 2.
You 100% what I work out to right here. My apologies. Take 2.
Can't talk.
I understood.
Yep. What's up, and welcome to Straight from the Chest podcast. My name is Justin Groth, and I'm your host on this personal development, self-improvement podcast. Listen, if you guys are new to the show, I just want to take this time and I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. And if this is your second or 332nd time tuning back in, thank you for your continued listenership and support of the podcast. It means a lot to me. And if you haven't yet done so, please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, basically anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're likely there. Please subscribe to us. And if you haven't yet done so as well on YouTube, please subscribe there. We're trying to build that platform as well. We're kind of late to the game, but better late than never, right? So again, thank you for your love and support of the podcast. It means a lot to me. If you haven't yet, share the podcast on your platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If it's on Instagram, please add me as Justin Craig Roth. That's my personal handle, and I'll be sure to re-mention you in the stories. And yeah, I just appreciate that. Thank you in advance. Without further ado, Big Jake, what's up, brother?
Good to see you.
Thanks for being on, man. It's been a minute,
here.
man, since I've seen you. You've been in Texas.
Been a few years, right?
Yeah, man. That's why I said a minute.
Moved to Vegas first for a year, and then moved to Vegas. Been there for about a year. Or, I'm sorry. Went to Vegas for a year. Went to Austin for a year.
So how was Austin?
Austin's better than Vegas, which no disrespect to Vegas, it's just not my scene anymore. And then when I was in Vegas, I was missing blue and green, if that makes sense.
No.
I'll happily give context. So when you're there, everything's a little red and a little brown, right? Because that's what they do they have a lot of rocks and there's a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
But you think it doesn't affect you like psychologically, but over time it does. And then it's a different type of sun, so I couldn't get outside and I couldn't get my vitamin D and I couldn't get my walks and I couldn't get my nature, and just time goes by and I got a little, I don't want to say sad, but something was missing. So when I moved to Austin, which is a story of itself, I moved with a bunch of my friends that are in my industry, and I noticed right away, my friends wanted to live like downtown Austin. That's fine, nothing wrong there, but I wanted to live at what's called the green belt around oak trees. So we live at a place called Spring Valley, I believe, Oak Hills, and it's all green. And we got the Colorado River right next to us. So now I got my blue, and I got my green. I can go on my walks.
Nice,
happier.
man.
Yeah.
Nice. So for people listening, we should probably tell them how we met.
Okay.
So
Can I take a guess?
sure.
Fitness 19.
Fitness 19.
Okay.
We met at the gym.
I just want to make sure I remember.
Yeah, man. You were a little bit of an early bird. I think meaning you would go to the gym around like 5, 6 a.m. I was there. And then sometimes we would cross paths later in the day because maybe your schedule permitted you to go later in the day. And that's typically when I would train. And I have a very vague and distorted memory from how we actually started interacting. But I want to say it was when you asked me, you would ask me about I don't know what I thought about like Athlete X,
Correct.
and
Correct.
like what different movements he did, and
Correct. Well, I can
and-
say, if I may,
sure.
I remember the move, which I call it the hamstring curl. I don't know what
with the
call it.
dumbbell.
With the dumbbell?
Yeah.
I remember seeing you do that, and your nickname was Quadzilla, right? At
Was
Fitness
it?
Night, I just Quadzilla.
Unbeknownst
because you had
to me.
these monster tree trunks of legs.
Oh, well, unbeknownst to me. Thank you.
Unbeknownst, you're welcome. Quadzilla, just so you know. And I saw you doing what other people weren't. And that's what got my interest. Because you had better results than most people, and you were doing what most people weren't. And what I learned is success leaves clues. So I come up to you and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Which I don't even know what the name of it is. I call it, it's a curl
Yeah,
with
you call it whatever
hamstring.
you
So I
want,
call it
yeah.
the hamstring curl.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started doing it. And then when I heard you speak with a different caliber or intellectual level of other people. So right there, I'm fascinated, right? So I start seeing you as an authority. So I start coming to you, picking your brain, right? And yeah, I think I was on Mark Ripto, Athlete X, and I just wanted to verify what I knew with you. And you were always gracious enough to create some time in between your sets to tell me what was and what isn't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
That's really, really sweet of you to say.
Hey, man.
Well, what got me fascinated about you is that you have your own philosophies on things, and you're not the typical norm that I would run across, and you're very opinionated, and you have, but in a good way. I don't mean that in a disparaging light. Like
I didn't
you're-
take it as such, yeah.
You're opinionated in a good way, man, and because you think outside of the box. You're not in the specific framework that most people are indoctrinated in, and you venture outside of that, whether it be you're not afraid to travel outside and maybe ask questions or believe different. You know, either way, it's materializing into a different, you end up interfacing with a different person and not one of the norm.
Yeah.
You know, you're unique in your way. And I like that. I really was intrigued by that.
I've always found truth in both sides.
So what's your upbringing like? What caused, was there any specific thing that caused you to think outside the box? That's just how you're biologically designed?
No, it was it's like, it's an interesting thing because it can jump around a lot. I make a lot of my stories, whether they be like pleasure or pain, into, I don't know what you would call them, principles, philosophies. Like you asked me, like, when were you able to like notice a switch? Like when did you decide to look past what people told you? It's hard to choose one story. I can tell you like one of the most prominent ones was, and see, like, you tell me how you want to structure this, because I could go back, give you the history of my life, but I can also tell segments, and it'll give you a little bit of the past, and maybe we can go back. So like, one is I didn't have a dad, right? So like my dad left at a young age because of, let's say, drug issues, right? Drug complications. No judgment on his character too, because at the time I didn't know him, which kind of goes into this, like, I did have resentment for him until I grew up and realized, oh, maybe I don't know what he was truly going through. But what that leads to is I was kind of always looking for like role models, and I found Jim Rohn, right? Jim Rohn is the mentor to Tony Robbins. And then when I found Jim Rohn, I liked Jim Rohn. I always get curious about who they listen to. So Jim Rohn's mentor was a guy named Earl Shoaff. So I started like learning about Earl Shoaff. I didn't really resonate with his stuff because he's back in like 1920s. Jim Rohn I really liked, and he almost became like a father figure. And so I would just consume his content over and over and over, and a big shift. And I love these shifts. And we'll get into kind of like my life philosophy structure, or like my life circumstance structure was, and I'll teach it in a way. Do you like paying taxes?
Of course.
Do you?
I love it.
You love it?
No.
Okay. Most people would say no, right? Of course. Why would I like to give my money
Sure.
to the state or the feds? I was the same way until I listened to Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn gifted me with this, think about what it truly is, right? Like, I'm not losing money. I'm just giving back what I owe to the state. And by the way, he would refer to it as the golden goose. I'm paying my tax into this beautiful country that I'm in that allows me to make this wealth. And so I went, wow. And
It's a perspective, right?
it's perspective, and a big perspective shift, because now a lot of people, I'd be like, you don't want to pay a lot in taxes, right? And you go, no, I want to pay more in taxes, because the more I pay in taxes, it means the more I made that year. See what I mean? So if I have to pay $10,000 out of $100,000 that I make, I want to make $1 million and then pay $100,000 in taxes. There was a shift. Tipping was a huge one for me. I go, like, when do you tip?
I tip at restaurants.
That's where you tip. When do you tip?
I'm not sure I'm understanding.
I gotcha. So most people will tip at the end of service.
I feel like you're trying to riddle me.
Oh, it is
So
a
let's
riddle.
just,
in a
let's
way.
just get to the point.
I'm sorry.
So all right, let's get to the point. No hocus pocus.
I love it,
Foo-foo
though.
shit.
I love it.
You tell me what you're getting at.
I got
Don't
you.
ask me riddles.
I got you.
How about that?
No
All
riddles.
right.
Okay. So most people will tip at the end, right? Because they evaluate the service that they were given. But why would you do that? You want to ensure that you're going to have good service.
Tip in the beginning.
Tip in the beginning.
Right.
Now,
I've heard that. Yeah.
And it works fantastically, right?
Oh, you've done it?
I've done it multiple times. And
Okay.
I recommend it highly. And I'll give you a quick example. I used to go to seminars. Well, I still go to seminars, business seminars, right? Thousands of people going to one hotel, tons of cars, valet. It takes a while to get out of there, right? I listen to Jim Rohn. It's one thing to learn it, but the other thing, I got to put it into practice. So I drop off my 2014 Scion TC. It's not a grand car, right? And I go, here's $20. Please take care of it. Not after, before. I go into the event goes over. Now there's thousands of people about to leave. I go up, I go, hey, could I grab my car? He goes, yeah. And he takes my ticket and gives me my keys.
It's already out. Huh?
It's in between a Lamborghini Murcielago and a Mercedes G-Wagon. And I'm curious. So I go, hey, man, why is my basic sedan right there? And he shows me the tip or a trick. He goes, look, see this 20 right here? It shows how much you tipped.
Oh.
So it lets the other guy know how much you tipped.
Right.
So we take care of you. You take care of us. We take care of you.
Interesting.
And I've done the valet one a lot when I was in Vegas. I went up. I was late for an event. I was trying to find parking. They had the cones out. And I'm like, I'm not going to find a spot. Said valet's full. I took a shot. I go, hey, man, is there any way with a $20 bill? Is there any way I could get in? And he goes, you take care of me. I'll take care of you. He moved the cone over one car spot and parked right there. Got in. Two
Beautiful
tips to ensure prompt service.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, I've heard. I just ran across I hate to say this, but I'll say it. A TikTok, a video, and somebody who said that same thing. They were saying that. I don't know if it was Jim Rohn or if it was a motivational speaker or whoever, but they were illustrating that same type of idea, and it makes a whole bunch of sense, man. Like you would think that that's just is the thing to do. It's the way to go. It's the way to go about it, and I'm gonna do that next time.
You should,
and even at restaurants.
Practically, right? You and I go out to a restaurant. You're gonna do at minimum, simple math, a $20 dish. I'm going to do a $20 dish, $5 drink, $50 total. I know I'm going to give the guy $5 minimum, even if it's basic service. So even if you were just go, hey man, $5 for you, just if you could give, my table a little bit more attention, that'd be great. What he does after that doesn't matter, but I guarantee you'll probably get the best service in your life.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
TikTok can be very, very, like some people have such a bad, I guess,
consuming
preface over what TikTok is. But every time I jump on TikTok and I don't like anything because I don't want to give them further understanding of what I am and what I'm about, etc. They already know based off impressions.
Okay.
And how long I'm listening or looking at watching the video, if I rewind it, etc., etc.
You're talking about the data collected on you.
Yeah, and so I just kind of sift through, but everything that I typically get is all pretty much educational. I don't get like dances and shit.
Well, that's because the algorithm is
sure, but it's like I try not to like on purpose like that, and
correct.
I guess their impression is, okay, you've watched this long enough, you must like things like this.
Correct.
And that's pretty much all they need.
Listen, I'm guilty of when TikTok first came out. I was like, all the girls dancing, pleasure, eye candy things. And it took me a long time to change my algorithm to books and brains and education.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, but it can be educational. It depends on how you use it, man. And are you aware that like TikTok can have access to everything around you?
Oh, well, I mean, if we get into like digital security, I've kind of made peace with what my phone is, and not only my phone, but my credit cards, and my watch, and how they all speak to each other, and how all this data goes to a data center, and then all that data center goes to other data centers, and all those data centers goes to social media platforms, advertising agencies. It's kind of the world we live in. And it's kind of the philosophy of like, if it's in my control, I'll control it. But if it's not, then I'm not going to do anything. And I don't see a world where I'm going to give up my phone. Not because I'm addicted, but because I work on this, I communicate on this, family, friends, quality of happiness. So I'm kind of okay with it. And
yeah, you're privy to things. Yeah.
Well,
far more than the average.
I'm in digital marketing. It's one of my businesses. So I myself use pixel tracking and cookie tracking and ad hacking and funnel hacking.
So explain some of those.
Of digital marketing. Which aspect?
Well, okay, so I always found the cookie thing to be quite interesting.
Okay.
So how does that work?
How does it work? Okay, so there are tons of different cookies, tons of different pixels. Okay, most common one's going to be like a Google Pixel, or Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, LinkedIn Pixel, Pinterest, social media pixel. Okay, we'll home in on one. Let's do Facebook. Okay, so I create a website, doesn't matter what, Wix, Square, WordPress, done. Okay, all coding. I go to Facebook, I create an ad account, I'm going to run ads, create it. I create a pixel. Pixel's an inscripted piece of code. I take this code, I post it on the website. Now it's on the website. Okay, Facebook itself is a platform to where if you engage with anything, it collects that data, right? If you go to AthleanX and you subscribe, right, that's data. Not only is that data that you like AthleanX, but it's data that you're associated to everything that AthleanX is, right? Similarities. Then let's say you click on AthleanX's product page, right? And you go and you look at a product of AthleanX, and I'm 100% sure he has pixels on his page. So not only did you go to the website, go to shop, and look at a specific product, all those triggers are now on Facebook, okay? We're going to get to how I use it. Let's say maybe you add it to the cart, maybe you initiate checkout, but you don't purchase it. I, as AthleanX's advertiser, I'm going to have ads where I go, hey, Facebook, I want to create a campaign. I want the objective to be conversions. Conversions, I want to be product sales. And I'm going to say, I want you to, this is in the audience creation, I want you to target people that looked at a specific product, added to cart, or initiated checkout, but didn't see my thank you confirmation page. Facebook goes, okay, we're going to charge you for that. So now all you see, really anywhere you go, depending on, we're just homing in on Facebook. On Facebook, anywhere you go, you're going to see it in the right column, on the news feed, on the story, showing you the thing that you missed out on. And if the copywriter does a really good job, or I'm sorry, the advertiser does a good job, they're going to show you the product. They're going to show you it in use. They're going to show you the benefits of it. They're going to say, hey, you're so close. They're going to, what I call, continue the conversation. You're so close to owning this product that you wanted. And then ideally they have, now we're getting advanced, different segments. So as the older you get, the more scarcity or urgency they try to build up. But that's how they do it.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, we call it landing page views. As soon as you land on their page, that pixel just sends it back to Facebook.
And a pixel is
just a piece of
coding?
encrypted code.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just is able to message back and forth.
Correct.
Interesting.
That's it. And then if the person sets it up right, they have Google on there. They got Facebook, which is Facebook and Instagram. If they have Google on there, that's Google and YouTube. Depending on what they're selling, could be Pinterest, could be LinkedIn if it's business oriented. Ideally, you have all of them on there. Because what happens is, let's say you go on Facebook, but you also use YouTube, right? If that agency is doing a really good job, they have retargeting ads where they hit you on YouTube too, show you the same thing. And then, by the way, they create a contingency in the ad to where when you do see that purchase page, you are no longer in that audience, so that they'll no longer show it to you. And if they're really good, they put you in the next audience, try to upsell you, downsell you, cross-sell you.
How much does a service like that cost for businesses?
Not a lot.
Really?
Well, so it depends. So if you do it yourself, really the only person that you're paying is Facebook.
How would you do it yourself?
Go to Facebook, create a profile.
Ad campaign?
Right? No, not yet.
Oh.
See, Facebook's really good at getting you to spend your money best for Facebook. Hear me out. So first you create a profile, okay? Now you got your personal profile. Then you got to create your business page. Business page is created. Now you go to Facebook Business. So it'll be like the first one you click on, business.facebook.com. It'll say create ad account. You create an ad account, and it'll likely you'll be signed into your Facebook, so it'll know who you are. And then it'll be like create an ad account. Creating an ad account, just name it whatever you want. It says what page do you want to associate this with? Associate the Facebook page. Ideally you do an Instagram too. Associate the Instagram page. It'll have you log in, confirm everything. If you're going to do everything correct, sorry, I'm going to be thorough. You create a pixel, put the pixel on your website. Okay, pixels, test it, make sure it's triggering correctly. Now, cool. You have this cool ecosystem, right? You could go straight for conversions. A lot of people do. I'm kind of a low burn person, but to answer your question, how would one do that? Now you go to businessfacebook.com. You log into your ad account. There's going to be a green button at the top right. It's going to say create, little plus screen. Press create. It's going to ask you what kind of ads do you want to create. There's really 3 options. There's awareness, engagement, and conversion. A lot of people say the awareness isn't worth it because it doesn't lead to sales. There's a lot of studies out there and like results that say differ, just you got to be creative. Engagement is good depending on what objective you're trying to do, but if you're trying to do sales, then most people go for conversions. And conversions is kind of a blanket term. Like it's mostly meant for either I want people to add to cart. I want people to that didn't add to cart initiate checkout. I want people to purchase. It could also be as simple as I want people to click. I wouldn't recommend that one. I would choose, I want people to view landing page, right? Just to get them there because it's the easiest way to get them. So you choose your objective, right? You choose conversion, what type of conversion you want. You want landing page views, and then it's going to have you build an audience, okay? Ideally, you have a list to upload. If you don't, like give me a fictitious item to sell.
Shampoo,
okay. Let's say I don't have a list, okay? I'm creating my audience. It says, do you have a custom audience or anything? No, obviously I'm brand new. So I go down and then there's detailed targeting. Okay. So this is the beautiful thing. And see, this is the catch-22 of like, man, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. It depends on how you use it, right? How you perceive it. You have access to all of Facebook's data. They provide it to you. You don't need it, right? They want to make their money, which is your money, and hopefully you make more money, so then you spend more money. Win, 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 right? I don't know that many shampoo brands, but what I would do is I'd go on Google and I'd be, similar, like let's say you have organic shampoo. I find competitors, big names. I go to detailed targeting. I put their name in there. Bam, there's their page. They have 10,000 followers. 10,000 followers, which are similar to people that would buy your product. So I put them on there. I want them to see it. Right? Maybe put another one. I want them to see it. But you just find similar ones. You're done. Now we switch over to the ad. To pause, take a step back. It's a campaign, ad set, ad. So campaign is choosing the objective. Ad set is choosing the audience. Ad is adding your creative, right? So you put up a photo of your shampoo. You write a nice primary text. You put a good offer headline. You press publish. It's out there. Let it run 1 to 2 to 3 days, measure how it's going, and then choose whether to change it, shut it off. It's doing well, put more ad budget in, and it's this forever machine.
So people have the ability to make a lot of money on Facebook.
A lot.
From advertisement. It's a pretty detailed...
I
love it.
I am not good at simple context.
Well, you shouldn't be. I think that is what people need to hear. They need to hear the detailed side of things, not just the Cliff's Notes version.
One of the frustrating things of like today is everybody wants it quick, right? I want to make ads where I'm like, I'll help you become rich in a year. I'll help you become fit in what would you say, 18 months? What is it, 6-pack abs in 6 weeks? It's
yeah.
It's all bullshit.
Sure.
And it sucks because I love the term absolute cost, right? Which is also absolute profit, whatever. I love the word absolute, because somebody will come in, especially in my industry as well, but fitness as well. I love using fitness as a metaphor. And somebody signs up for, 6 weeks, 6-pack abs, and they have their hopes up, and they go and they do the work, and they didn't get the result. People think it's not a big deal, but it really is, because that person is now discouraged from the next one, and they're probably going to give it a shot, whatever the next one is. 6 packs in 12 weeks, or lose 10 pounds in 10 days, whatever. But when they fail on those enough, how many fails is it going to take before they stop trying? That stuff bothers me.
Yeah, but don't you think that's a problem with the person?
The person that's going after it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's accountability, right? But I wish there was accountability for the marketer too.
Sure.
It's easy to sell something.
It's called integrity. It's not really accountability. It would be integrity for the marketer.
For the marketer.
Yeah, to have some ethics behind what they're pushing.
I agree.
But the onus is on the person that's buying said program.
I agree.
Yeah.
But see, I get stuck in weird situations like this where I don't want to associate people as not smart, but
they're not. A lot of people are not smart. And it's the reason why they get preyed on, because they don't have good perspicacity. They don't have good understanding and insight into things that they should.
Yeah.
So they are not smart, but they need those lessons to be learning. They need those times to be learning lessons for them, so they can understand better how malevolent people transpire against them in life.
I agree. I love prevention of problems versus problem solving. So if there was a way to have somebody not go through that. Jim Rohn, I'm going to use a lot of Jim Rohn references. He talks about the reason we are such incredible creatures is because we can learn from other people's pains rather than experience it ourselves. That's why I'm fascinated with reading. I just want to read about other people's pains to avoid it. You were talking about, or you mentioned maliciousness, and it reminded me, I remember when the book 48 Laws of Power were referred to me, which is by Robert Greene. And the book's beautiful, but it's all about malicious intent. My perception of that book was, I won't use this stuff, but it is amazing to know of it so that it's not done to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that you have a lot of hope for people, and that's good.
I hope not to lose it.
My hope is anchored in reality and what I see based on the data that I collect. And there are a lot of people that have a fighting chance, and then there are a lot of people that just don't. And those people that don't are typically weak, and they leave a sense of, or they place a sense of victimness on themselves.
Yeah.
And they never take culpability over anything, and they like to project, and they like to find biases to levy on.
Yeah.
And essentially, at the end of the day, they just do not take ownership. And so when you're talking about programming, I'm all with that, bro. I don't think that people should market with ill intentions, just to sell things like clickbaity and shit. I think you should have a level of transparency behind what you're marketing and your product. With that being said, the onus is on the consumer to be able to discern whether or not this is bogus. They need to do their research. Maybe they have a friend, if we're talking about fitness, maybe they have a friend that's a personal trainer that they really trust and respect. That can give them insight on this. Hey, based on the level of body fat that I have, do you think it's probable, not possible, probable that within 6 weeks, I'll be able to get 6-pack abs on this guy's program?
Yeah. And
this person that they respect and trust says yes or no. Depends on whatever they say.
Yeah.
Then they maybe go with it or they don't. But you have to do your own vetting over people that are producing said programs or producing products, etc. And, if you get had, you get had.
Agree.
It's just, it's fucking life.
Was there ever a time where you would consider yourself weak or got had?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But that has nothing to do with that has nothing to do with the veracity that I speak with.
No, I understand. I was gonna ask, what was it? Obviously, it was those.
Don't know.
Oh, okay.
Don't know. I don't know. But I'm sure. I'm just again, assuming I've been, because I'm a human being.
No, I understand.
And I've
Yeah.
been on this planet for 30 years. I'm sure there's been at least a time or two that I've been had. But typically, I have a strong sense of perspicacity, and I have a strong antenna and awareness about myself and other people.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of handed down to me by my mom, because at an early age, my mom is very psychologically inclined, and she would always sit with me and want me to like people watch with her.
Cool.
She's very into that. And so I think at an early age, I started to develop an understanding of people's behaviors and just patterns and, you know, eye language. I call it eye language, just based on their expressions on their face are, how they move, etc. And to be able to take in that information, that data, and I guess put it together in a way that allows me to have a better understanding or analyzation of that person.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And so that's why when I see people that are marketing or promulgating a service or a product, I have to look at the person. I have to look at their credentials. I have to look at if they're a trustworthy person. And that is really, I don't think that's honestly something that's learned with people.
Yeah.
It's either something you have, an intuition, or you don't have it.
Yeah. The reason I asked that question is because I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating of what was the moment, right? Like, I knew I had a victim's mentality growing up, and I can recall when I first identified with, like, I was like, oh, I identify as a victim. Like, somebody once gave me this title, and I went, oh, I'll take it. Like, I remember that. So I'm always fascinated with, like, what are these changing moments that just radically shifted an individual? Because, like, me, most people would, like, consider me strong-willed, opinionated. Some people call me confrontational, which I'm not.
That's funny.
I get a lot. I get a lot of good names, which I always assume it speaks more of the character of the person that's speaking to me.
Sure.
But I digress. Where was I?
Fuck it. I don't. It's because they can't handle it, man. They can't handle that kind of directivity. They can't handle, if that's even a fucking word. They can't handle that, man. They can't handle that level of person, because that's what starts to make them tremble and feel a little bit weak or not capable.
Not okay.
And when you're not capable, or you don't have a level of the competency that you thought you had, well, that disrupts a lot of things, especially for men.
I like that you said. Did you say rational, reasonable, or realistic? Because those are my 3 R's right there.
Oh, I think I'm more realistic, and at times I think I try to be rational, but then my logical, realistic nature might get the best of me.
Okay.
I know there are a lot of grays in the world, but I also operate on a lot of black and white.
I do too.
But again, I'm aware that there are a lot of grays.
Going on this analogy of grays, whites, and blacks, when you're in a gray area, do you both go to the white area and research that, and then go to the black area and research that before, like, finding which side you're going to be on?
If it proves to be something that needs to be factually correct, I'll research it. But if it's in an own interpretation, then I look within myself and how I operate and what I think, etc. And if somebody doesn't subscribe to that, well, then they don't subscribe to that, and then we have differing opinions, and that's fine. But that's why we have this whole polarization in the world in general. Is because people believe one thing and other people believe another thing, and they're very conflicting. And I don't try to be what anybody wants me to be. I'm trying to be, if anybody, myself, and what makes me operate, how I interpret things, how I analyze things, and then having the cojones to distribute them to everybody else, because that is the fundamental aspect that can be lost with most people, is that they don't have the gumption and the balls to just say what they really feel or what they think, not what they feel, what they think, because feeling is very, very, very it's emotionally wound, And I'm not saying do what you feel. I'm saying do what you think, and how you operate is most profound to your psyche, to your being, and the ways that you feel are prominent to your walk and progressive to your walk in life. You know, I mean, so.
No, it was beautifully said. Yeah, it just to circle back, right, of the accountability of the consumer, the integrity of the marketer, and speaking who you are. That is just who I am. I am somebody that I have hope to prevent pain or prevent problems by calling out bad marketers, and hopefully being able to give people the information, education, wisdom, experience of whatever that is to avoid being manipulated.
You're like the Lane Norton of the marketing industry.
You know,
familiar with Lane Norton?
Not a lot. Yeah.
He calls a lot of fitness BS. He calls out a lot of people that are
Is he the natty or not?
toting fitness BS. Does he do natty or not?
Yeah.
No.
He's not that guy. Okay.
No, he does. Natty or nots are people like Greg Doucette,
Okay.
Derek from More Plates, More Dates. They do the natty or not, and a couple other YouTubers. But Lane Norton is the guy that will call out a lot of the BS in the fitness industry, food and nutritional industry,
Yeah.
Or nutrition industry, if that's even an industry, food industry.
For sure.
But yeah, that's kind of what you're doing, and that's a very virtuous thing to attach yourself to.
It makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have a need to do it. Is there like do you feel like there's some type of impetus in you to do that?
There's an irony to it. So a lot of my friends, they mean it wholeheartedly. They call me Dad, right? Dad. I'm like, thanks, Dad. Whatever. Like, good seeing you, Dad. And I had a bad association with that name, right? Because anytime somebody would say Dad to me, I'd think of my dad. And at the time, I was like, I don't like that word. I don't want to hear that word. But I like to meditate on stuff, especially when I feel stuff, right? I like to sit down and, all right, I feel something because of this consecutively. I think it was either Jordan Peterson or Robert Greene that said, if you have a feeling over something that happened longer than 18 months ago, it means that your brain just hasn't processed the lesson from it yet. And I really like that. So my dad's been gone a while, right? So I'm feeling something, so I'm going to process it. And, they're calling me dad. And I was telling you earlier, I didn't have a dad. So what I did, though, was I started to learn all the things that a dad would typically teach a son. And indirectly, the reason that they were calling me dad was because I was teaching them stuff that their dad didn't teach them. And so I think unconsciously, I do like teaching people stuff because the reward is super nice. I'll actually use an incredible example, and it's super small, but it means everything to me. Was one of my roommates, Josh Steele. He didn't really know how to cook. I love cooking, right? So whenever he was around, I'd show him. Let me show you something. I showed him like mashed potatoes, right? Which is so simple. Boil water, skin potatoes, put them in, drain them, let the steam come out. I'm already getting like too specific, right? Smash them, you got mashed potatoes. Doesn't mean anything, right? What is teaching somebody how to make mashed potatoes? Nothing, right? Well, this Christmas, he actually hit me up and sent me a message. He goes, I am so grateful that you taught me how to make mashed potatoes, because there was a thing where we were making a family dinner and my mom didn't have a bunch of help, and I could step in and do the thing that you taught me. That is almost better than most checks that I receive from my clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree, man. Because it's something that's materializing in real time.
It's just real. To me,
Right.
It's real.
Right.
Yeah.
One other thing that was really intriguing to me was that even though you're this guy that has a fairly good understanding and analysis of what it means to have a proper moral landscape, you're atheist.
This is actually I was on my way over here, I was saying one of my favorite things to discuss with you. You're Christian or Catholic?
Christian.
So we were always able to have religious dialogue, discussions, not debates. No, you're right, I'm wrong, none of that. So it was actually I applaud you for that, because I enjoy talking about religion. But yes, I'm an atheist.
Well, the reason why no one can be right or wrong in this is because the burden of proof is on you to tell me how God isn't real, and the burden of proof is on me to tell you how God is real. And I don't have any I don't have any profound evidence to showcase
E-
that,
either
and
do I.
neither do you.
Nope.
So that's why it can only be a discussion
Yeah.
because we're both at a loss.
Well, I love the concept. Like I think I was reading Will and Ariel Durant's The History of Human Civilization, and that was a great aspect of religion on there. And I'm reading what religion is, and I believe, I don't want to speak for them, even though they're past, I believe they were atheist, and every time I read about religion and an atheist is talking about it, it's never good, right? It's like a fallacy, it's believing in unicorns, right? But there's got to be beauty in it. Like there's absolute beauty in faith, right? I call it belief, but there's absolute beauty in faith. Like you're probably a great example of what faith does for you. Wakes you up every day, helps you help people, helps you help yourself, right? Gives you a sense of meaning. We can kind of go into Tony Robbins has the 6 human needs. Are you familiar with those?
No.
So it is growth, contribution, significance, love, certainty, and uncertainty. And
Respect isn't in there?
no, not in these. Yeah. So in other words, like, you know, we're certain we want to wake up. We need uncertainty because we don't want to know what the rest of our life is like, because then there's no, novice, there's no excitement. Love, I think he said, is the thing, but most people settle for connection. And significance, whether that be significance with yourself, significance with others, significance with God, and then growth and contribution. And the reason, and this was my association of what Tony Robbins said and Will Durant said, was God is so powerful because he gives you all 6. God gives you certainty, uncertainty, significance, unconditional love. He helps you grow and he helps you contribute to himself and others. So I find a lot of beauty in religion, but I don't know if it's my practicality where I don't, and I got a great story for you of why I probably should believe, but my rationality paused me. So I was, and if I'm ranting, let me know. I got hit by a truck, right, when I was very young in 6th grade. And prior to that, I had a 1,200-pound gate fall on me. Cracked my skull, broke my right femur. And then prior to that, I was electrocuted at like a Chuck E. Cheese. I was the accident-prone child. And at a young age, I grew up Catholic. I actually have the rosary tattooed on me, right? And I got this rosary tattooed on me post becoming atheist because I still like some of the values that came from religion. But I used to pray at night, every night. It's a weird pray that, hey, God, I think you got something against me, or maybe I'm an angel and you want me earlier. I don't know, right? Kid talk. And I go, if you would, when the time comes, could you, like when I dream, you kind of slow down time and give me a lot of stuff. Like, could you just show me like a well life lived? I'd appreciate it, right?
Like an example?
No, yeah, just show me, like, when I'm dreaming, just show me a good life lived, and, then shut the lights off, or whatever happens, let that happen. And when I got hit by the truck, right, it happened right in front of Harlow Elementary. Mm-hmm. And, I did everything right, pressed the button, waited, started to walk, and then jumped on my bike, and this truck that was going 55 miles an hour, I hold a record, I think, still, in Arroyo Grande, for flying like 40 feet. He hit the brakes. The bike kept me underneath because he ran me over. And so I'm out, right? I'm black. Gone. But
he ran you over.
Yeah. It was brutal. I got great stories, man.
He ran you over, but you didn't. You say you didn't fly off the bike?
No. So he hit me, right? I fly, and then I land. My bike stays underneath his grill.
And then he kept going.
Well, he's slowing down, right? 55, brake. It's going to take some time. And then, the bike, they say, kept me from going under. But while that was happening, I had a very realistic dream. I had a dream, clear as day. Truck was there. I stood up. My bike was fine. Got on my bike. Started to continue my trip to Clint. I don't remember his last name. Clint's house. Make it half a block. I pulled the brakes. I set it down. I watched my bike crumple up. And I just see my arm. And that pain in the dream, like I wake up and I got the EMS on me. And I got the defibrillator and my t-shirt's cut, and that's the first thing I say. I was like, oh, you cut my shirt. But I had this dream, which is what I prayed for. And it was pretty radical at the time. Now here's where my rational or practicality comes in, where I'm just a curious guy. So I was thinking about that. I was like, why'd that happen? And then I started to research how the brain shuts down when you're dying, right? It has a very specific sequence. And one of the last sequences is like pretty much your memory, showing you these things that you think about a lot, or, you know, that mean a lot to you. So what was it? Did I get a glimpse, or was my brain shutting down? I like the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
It's a cool story. I didn't have that when the gate fell on me. I didn't have that when I got electrocuted. I haven't had anything like that since. But it's a cool story.
How long ago was that?
That was young. So 6th grade is when the truck happened. Probably 4th grade is when the gate happened. And I don't recall. I talked to a therapist once because, like, my childhood I have a bad association with time as a child. And they said it's probably due to the accidents.
The trauma.
Pain, suffering, trauma. Yeah.
So.
And so here, I'll give you I'll give you an outline, because typically when people are like, let's talk about your story, right? I categorize it with certain segments, and each one I've gone back and reflected on and makes me who I am today with my characters. Born in Santa Maria, right? Happy family. Father falls into drugs. Financial issues prosper. Divorce. Father goes to hotels and motels. Mom goes to a trailer in Napomo. Two beautiful stories in a way are about to happen. One, unfortunately, is of a parent that's going to, I want to say give up, but I don't know, right? One's going to step up. Father's going to step down. Mom's going to step up. Accidents happen. We can talk, by the way, because it's a story that, and you can tell me what you think. I'm comfortable with it. I always want to put it out there because I think it helps other people. But between that time of my mom being away, because I was a latchkey kid, and my dad, I was sexually molested by a man. I'm comfortable talking about it, but I don't like pity. But I like sharing about it because I kind of like making it a norm. I took a lot of power from that story. That's that victim title that I was given.
Yeah.
So we got these accidents. We got some sexual molestation. I make a lot of jokes about it, by the way. I grew up as a nerd. 6th grade is when I decided to change my life. It's a young age, but like I think it was from the accidents. I was a cognitive, deep thinking individual. I walked up to Adriana Montalago. I don't think that's her last name anymore because she got married. And she was the coolest girl at Harlow Elementary School. And I had, as I still do today, I have pens and paper. And I walked up to her and I said, how can I be cool? Really, I was saying, how can I be different? That's probably the first radical change in my life. She gave me the best advice that she could at the time, which was style your hair, wear brands, be fit, right?
She said be fit?
Yeah. She herself, I believe, was like a soccer player. Like, I mean, muscle, it's.
She said be fit in 6th grade, and this is not current day 6th grade. This is 6th grade.
This is 6th grade.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
25 years ago when she
Yeah.
said that shit. Dang, man.
Pretty good.
She's
ahead
honestly, of her time.
Honestly, I've wrote her on Facebook like years later saying thanks. But so I spent
fuck this guy.
yeah. I spent that summer like getting fit, being I don't know if I would call it a total douche, but like just ignoring everyone. Unfortunately, hidden lessons, right? So I ignore everyone. I start studying clothes and brands and how to be cool and what's hip and what brands are in. DC at the time was the brands, and like, you know, I'm doing crunchies on my bunk bed, whatever, and getting abs. And I had this, to paint you a picture of who I was this parted hair, circle glasses, dragon button up t-shirt with the not matching cords and the white K-Swiss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't even clean the K-Swiss. I used those like white stainers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Just, I wouldn't say a mess. Just I was a forming human being.
Yeah.
And so I go from Harlow Elementary to Paulding Middle School, and Jonathan Jacobson was my best friend at the time, and so I see him. Now, I went from being a little chunky, which, by the way, Levi's had pants that actually said chunky back in the day, and I'm still offended. Okay, I would have to go into Levi's
That's so funny.
and buy
They could never get away with that now.
chunky pants. I'm still offended.
They could never get away with that
Never.
now. Never.
I walk up to my buddy, who's my best friend. I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? I remember I go from that picture to like, I think I still remember I was wearing a red DC tight skater pants with like black DC shoes, short, spiked done hair, and I was thin, and muscular for a 7th grader. And he didn't recognize me. Most people didn't. So it was like my first cool brand identity of myself.
Yeah.
I can make myself. I can be whatever I want. There's a little story that happened in between there, though, because as I grew, and this is probably from like 7th grade to, let's say, 10th grade, as I grew in popularity, I lost a lot of genuine friends, right? I got caught up in it. It was a distraction. And then I used to be like this macho football player, wrestler primarily, and I thought dancing was for a word at that time that I wouldn't use, right? Gays. I won't say it. I find the word offensive now. And ironically, I had to get pushed into dance and then became a really good dancer. And you actually had Cody on here, right? Which I danced with Cody. I love Cody. He helped me a lot in cool ways of becoming comfortable and dancing. And he was a guy I modeled after. Anyways, respect Cody. And then I made it to what I would consider the top of popularity. And I hated it. I just hated how fake and ingenuine it was. And I felt most empty I felt at the time of life. So I wanted to go back, right? Graduate, probably senior year, I'm just being no one, trying to find myself. College, I get into it a little bit more. I'm into wrestling, I'm into powerlifting. Then I get into personal development. That's when I first start to consume tons of books, tons of courses, tons of YouTube videos, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, like old school stuff, like the basic principles. And I loved it. And I shared it. And it brought me value, significance. That's the childhood story, to give you some context.
So when did it all shift towards you making the decision that you're not partaking in religion?
There was a time in my life where how I became religious was obviously like being grown up in family, right? Family's Catholic, so I'm Catholic, and Christmas and God and appreciation. It's okay to say God, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything in vain. And I went to a Christian Bible summer camp, right? Or Catholic one. And I think that's where I first started to question some of these stories. I think it was like the ages of the people. And I'm like, how? It just didn't rationally make sense to me. And I remember this guy putting my hand, like making me make a promise to something I didn't understand at the time. So he put my hand in a Bible and like traced my fingers. And I was like, I'm kind of uncomfortable, right? So that's probably the teeter of where I started to question. But where if I could pinpoint it to something, and I'm not certain, it's when I started to study all the pain in the world. And I've also studied the religious debates of, if there's children dying in Africa and, God has to let them live their story. It's just, for me, I don't know. There's too much pain in the world. Too much.
There's so much pain in the world for there to be a God, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And if I could be more specific, for my God to exist.
Because the way you interpret your God is all...
I mean, if it's all-knowing
healing,
and all-powerful.
And wants the betterment for others and peace for others, etc.
So I start studying pain, and I think there's too much pain in the world, right? And then I start studying religion in a sense. And so I start studying all the religions, and I think there's around 3,000 in total. And there was a principle that stuck with me, which was, I just believe in, and I think it was actually from a comedian, ironically. And he says, I just believe in one less God than you. Like, you believe in one God. I just believe in one less than you, if there's 3,000 out there. Yeah.
So, I mean, it has to come from somewhere. So did it come from evolution, or did it come from a higher power
like
entity,
where we came from?
Life, exactly. Like,
It's a fascinating subject, because I would lean towards evolution, right? Which is a question of its own, like, what was there before the Big Bang? I like to tell myself that it's just this beautiful heartbeat, right? That the universe will expand out and eventually close back.
yeah.
Go out.
Did you learn that from somewhere?
No, it was just the association of, like, I really like having two stories and, like, combining it and then creating a visual for me. And there is a lot. There's actually a book called, I don't know if it's biochemistry or, like, the similarities of, like, biomechanics, but it shows the similarities of, like, a solar panel and a plant leaf, or a riverbed and our veins, or the colors of a universe and our retinas, right? So I just, if there is this little pulse, if you will, of a Big Bang, they know that itself is going to expand until it can't, and then it'll implode on itself again. When that happens, I don't know.
Because this happened before?
So they say.
Yeah.
So I like to consider it a beautiful universe heartbeat.
Yeah, it's also like a pendulum swing. You know, I guess it depends on how you want to illustrate it, but it's all sort of the same thing. It's hard for, the logical side of me will be like,
I'm more fascinated with yours, because you are, it's always interesting. Like Jordan Peterson himself, very logical person. You, very logical.
I think the more Jordan, at least when he would debate like Sam Harris and people that were atheists, he can't really articulate. For one, he's a very good articulator in general, but he can't really articulate his side. He never really stands on one side or another. He just kind of defends the stories in the Bible.
I agree.
And it's like, but the way that this debate is going is Sam Harris is atheist.
Yep.
And you're Christian.
I so like it's that, like pro-Christian.
Well, you're not giving any prolific argument towards being a Christian.
Correct.
You're just kind of, I guess, defending stories in the Bible and how they, I don't know. It's so I stopped listening when I would see those debates. I'm like, okay, I understand where he's coming from, but aren't you supposed to be backing Christians in
Correct.
the most rudimentary format, like backing us? And I didn't really see him doing that, so I don't know. I don't even know if he's Christian. I don't even know if he believes in God. I don't even know.
I don't know either.
And I don't know if most people that say they believe in God.
I agree.
It's the thing for me is I don't know what this life operates on without a moral foundation and fabric, and maybe people don't need a God to be that moral foundation for them, whereas others do to be good people.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, what that looks like for you, that's how you're a better person. And maybe religion just gives people a more moral spine to stand on in order to navigate their life.
I agree. I like the word better for me is my number one word. If it helps you be better, and be better is mine. Be better and do better. I'm obsessed with those. Every day, be better, do better. Be better, do better. Oh, you're a person? Cool. Be better, do better. Oh, you're a bad person and religion makes you better? I'm happy for you.
But then when you go back to your story of when you prayed and you said, show me
this.
And then it happened.
Yeah.
Well, what would you chalk that up to? God or the universe?
Well,
whatever the universe means, that's a nebulous term to use because it doesn't really mean anything except
I think they mean energy.
Sure. So energy frequency.
And matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you chalk that up to?
So at the time, prior to reading How the Brain Shut Down, I would say it was God, right? Then learning how the brain shuts down and those key memories. Now, this is probably honestly a cognitive bias of mine, choosing which one I prefer. I then chose this. This logically makes sense to me. This one doesn't, because I can't prove or disprove it. So this becomes my truth. That's it.
Well, but the event happened, and you prayed for the event, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
So what would you chalk that up to? Is what I'm trying to
Maybe
ask.
I don't understand the question.
When you prayed and you said, "I want to, show me X, Y,
Show me
Z,"
a life.
right?
Yeah.
And then it happened by way of an accident.
Yeah,
You got what you prayed for.
I did.
What would you consider that to be? God or the universe?
I would say universe. It could be interpreted either way. Yeah, I choose universe because my let's go to like the reticular activating system of the brain, right? So I'm sure you're familiar with this. People that listen may not be. So if I were to say like close your eyes, and when I tell you to open them, look for things in your surrounding that are brown, right? And then I say open. I go look, close your eyes. Now tell me what's green. Okay? How many things you think they'll tell me? Not many, right? And then I go, tell me red, you saw. Why I'm bringing that up is I prayed for a specific thing. So in my interpretation, I was training my brain to have this really be a core memory of, hey, when I am in a fatal situation or I'm going to die, please give this to me. And I did that consistently, night after night after night after night. So I would imagine it's an instilled memory. And when it came, it was presented.
Yeah, I understand.
So I looked for it. I spoke it. I thought it.
So you were speaking, but that is like a speak of negativity that you brought onto yourself, because being hit by a car is not positive, and that could have been your life. So you're saying that you spoke in your death. You spoke into existence your death. You chose to have your brain seek out death, an experience that would be tantamount to death. That's what you're basically conveying.
If I had died, I think the story would be different, right?
Sure, but I mean, like but by saying it was the brain, the RAS, that was seeking it out,
Yep.
and choosing to place you here because
I'm not saying it's placing me there. I'm saying that I just had this instilled concept ready, and that whether it be the truck or the gate or whatever, like say none of those accidents happen, who knows? Maybe like I'm on my deathbed and it's still so instilled because it was a childhood, developing age before 7, could still be there. If one eye start to shut down, the brain soothes me or comforts me and plays out this happy ending and shuts the light off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying in any way it was like a what's that word? Manifestation. Yeah, I'm not saying
Right.
that.
But it's hard to say what it was, because it could have been an alignment
Impossible to
of
say.
vibrations, frequency, if you go on the Earth's or the terminology of the universe, or it's like God showing you. God's a more simpler way to put it, because then you don't have to go through the realm of quantum physics and how frequencies align and how like this, that, and the third. You can just kind of chalk up to God. It was God. God did this. God allowed this to happen. Okay, that makes sense. But it's like the logical, rational person will look deeper into that. Does it make sense? Are you sure?
Yeah.
But then it goes to the point where we don't understand the way this world really operates like we think we would like to understand. We're arrogant in thinking that we know when we really don't understand
I agree.
a thing. I mean, we understand a little bit. But in the spectrum of things, we don't understand anything.
I always like to say, at the time it was 100 years ago, and I go like, 100 years ago we didn't know that oxygen existed like this,
Right
here. So what
Right.
are we going to learn in another 100?
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's when you use that analogy, you're like, yeah, I'm done learning.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
I truly like. I love it when people compliment or praise me, and I go, I am very dumb. Like I do my best to learn about
Yeah.
subjects that I enjoy, but on the spectrum, when somebody starts talking to me about like quantum physics, I listen to what, you know, Elon Musk is doing with, and then I saw this beautiful website that showed
Elon's an alien.
I know.
He's not real, dude.
But it's, to me, it's beautiful, and it's nothing that I could. I'm so glad he's here, because I couldn't. I look at what he's done, and it's beyond me.
Well, the only way that we've really experienced what he's done is cars.
In a way.
I mean,
Well, so
I'm sure we'll experience more of what he's doing, but
well, I'm in the tech space, right? So his PayPal was revolutionary, and
yeah, we could get by without PayPal.
we could, but it's led to so many other things. Like a lot of the people that originally, I know we're going to go off a little tangent right here, but like a lot of the people that originally developed PayPal ended up creating incredible companies itself. So like that has tangible value that rippled through. And then, yeah, like cars is what we experience because of what we see, but I'm also fascinated with SpaceX, and I'm reading about it. I'm seeing all these satellites that he shoots up, and I'll send you the link. There's a link that shows all of his satellites and how like beautiful they circle the Earth. And if he achieves what he's trying to do, which is to give everyone on the planet, I don't know if it's free internet, but it's definitely internet. Wow. Like we're talking about people. I mean, I'm thinking beyond myself. I'm thinking of people that don't even have the accessibility to log on and you know, you're curious, but you have nowhere to bring your curiosity. That sucks. But to be given this gift of, hey, now you can.
Is it a gift?
Depends on how it's used.
Right. But the people that are seeking it out, that don't have access to it, you really think it's going to help them in life?
I would hope so.
Right. But then we go back to that hope, that very nebulous term of hope. It's like,
as we were speaking, like gray, white, and black, right? I agree that hope is this gray center, and that I can hope that person A and person B do well in life, and then I could statistically analyze based off their upbringing and behavior and actions where they may or may not go, but I'm still going to hope for the best.
yeah, like logically speaking, the internet's good to make money.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's good to make money, create a business.
Well, are you saying that's the sole thing?
Well, in terms of being a human being, a better human being, I don't think the internet makes you a better human being. I think that your ability to interact with people in real time, interface with people in real time, makes you a better human being. You can create a platform that allows you to extend out your voice out to multiple people and be heard and get heard by multiple people. But you can't, and you can hear them in return. Is that a good thing? I don't know. So it's like the way we conducted life when we didn't have the internet. I don't know, man. I think we're doing just fucking fine. And then this came, and the only thing it does, like I can see utility wise, is presents the ability to generate a far more extravagant income if you're privy to the internet and how it works and all its faculties that are intertwined in it. You can make a lot of money. But I mean, apart from separate that from just being a human being, a good human being. We don't need internet to be good human beings and to be civilized.
No, we don't need it.
And to create civilizations. They help speed up tech. They help speed up the onset of these things, but we don't need them. It's like carbohydrates.
I'm with
you. We don't need carbohydrates.
I'm with you.
But they definitely help the production of things, and they help the performance.
They help the pump. Needs an interesting word. So like, I have I tried to like solve happiness at one point, right? I tried to create a formula, and
what?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
We'll get into it. And this is where like I credit the internet, right? Because like I could either go to people and ask, and like hopefully they're honest and resourceful and have PDFs that I can read and take home. No, right? I went to the internet. So I tried to solve what happiness was, and gratefully, and this is why I love the internet, is to me it's just a giant library. And you're totally right as far as you can make a lot of money on the internet, right? Like I always say that the new currency of the world is attention, right? Like true, like that's a fundamental. It's what I live by. So I was gracious enough, right, to have a father figure, Jim Rohn, by the internet. I was able to research people like Maslow and his hierarchy of needs and build up a structure. I was able to find Tai Lopez, right, who helped me make more money and also helped me re-secure this structure. And in short, it's what allowed me to see these similarities. And this is my equation, is I always thought that H plus E plus R equals H. And that is health plus economics plus relationships equals happiness, right? And then I created subcategories for it. So health was primarily psychology and physiology, right? The mind and the body. Economics was the production, the expense, the transfer, and the charity, right? And then we had relationships. Primary ones, there's a lot of subcategories, is self, significant partner, family, friends, associates, and acquaintances. Happiness for me, which by the way was blank, because I truly didn't understand even what happiness was. But I thought if I had good health, I had good economics, and I had good relationships, I would live a happy life. I go to the internet, which by the way, I absolutely love the internet. I start reading, what is good health? What is good mental health? How do I do stress management? How do I, when I came across Michael Matthews, it was because of YouTube. And then I bought his book, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. And Michael Matthews introduced me to Mark Ripto, which is Starting Strength. And then I have to thank Michael Matthews, and I have to thank the internet for introducing me to Michael Matthews, right? Then economics. Like what your point exactly. You can make so much money online, but how am I going to make that money? First of all, I need to know what the options are. And back in the day when I was looking it up, it was digital marketing agencies, it was home share management, it was irrelevant, right? Tons of opportunities to make money. And then relationships, easy. But what makes a good relationship? What makes a good friend? What makes a good son, brother, whatever? These are all things I get to go to the internet, Google, and ask, and hopefully have an authority figure tell me what they've learned over their 20, 30, 40 years of expertise that I get to consume in 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, and now it's mine forever, right? This didn't make me happy, by the way, having all these. And it was a simple equation to know that it shouldn't have made me happy, because when I stepped back, like, are there people that are healthy that are unhappy? Of course. Are there people that are unhealthy that are happy? Of course. Are there people that are rich that are unhappy? Yes. Are there people that are poor that are happy? Yes. Are there people that can live by themselves and be happy? Yes. Are there people that are surrounded by family and love that can be unhappy? Absolutely. Right? So these are all irrelevant. So then I had to go, what is happiness? Right? No H plus E plus R equals whatever. Happiness is its own formula. Thanks to the internet, I get to go on there and go, truly probably was, what is happiness? Right? Just went down a tangent, which by the way, long story short, I call them my 3 Ps. You heard my 3 Rs, right? Rational, reasonable, realistic. I have 3 Ps for happiness. You have to have a positive mental outlook. You have to have your perspective, so choice of perspective, and you have to have progress. All thanks to the internet. And by the way, not all thanks just to the internet as far as research, but I did this all on Lucidchart, which, sir, I could have done it on like a yellow pad, but Lucidchart made it really easy.
So you have a lot of equations for everything. And as much as I, respect it, admire it, I guess if you're in the personal development space and you understand that especially men need something of meaning in their life.
There's meaning.
So you could essentially chalk all of those equations up to, well, I need to have something that makes my life worth a shit.
Correct.
And that's it. And so you don't, because you're wired the way that you are, and every man is wired in such a way, at least current day, with a millennia of biological, I guess, time to no. So he understands, if he just sits with himself, what makes me up?
Yeah.
What makes me a contributing factor to my society, to people around me, to my family. Yeah. He knows that he has to work to provide. He knows he has to protect his household if an intruder breaks in. Yep. All these things make him a man. Mm-hmm. And so this is a biological understanding we have as men. So, and I won't get into what makes a woman. We're not going to get into that. So
neither of us are.
But the fact is, the fact is, if you take time into understanding what makes you a man, then you'll find your meaning. That will be the contributing factor to people that you love around you. That will make you feel like you're worth a shit. That will offset depression. That will give a driving mechanism to get up out of bed every day, which is then if you don't feel like it for some reason, well, then you levy on discipline and you do what you have to do because you're disciplined, not because you feel like doing it, because you want to do it, because you know it's adding bricks to the wall here. So really, what's the point of equations? The reason, this is the great thing about you and I. Your brain thinks very complex about something and makes it into something bigger than it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Whereas me, I'm so stupid that my moronic brain thinks of things in the most rudimentary format possible, and it operates on a KISS metric. So when I hear you say that, that's analogous to what I believe, but just in the simple format. If you want to make people around you understand where you're coming from, then you give them the medicine in the simplest format that they can digest.
I do agree.
Because they can't digest that because they're not on your frequency, man. You're on a fucking different level.
I do know. I do know. But see, that is the beautiful part of that there are different people out there.
Yeah.
Right? So I refer to it, when I got into marketing, you have to learn different human behaviors, right? Behavioral psychology, sociology, psychology by itself, buying behaviors. And guess what? I overcomplicated it. I expanded it. And then I tried to make it simple to what I refer to as the PACE system. So I do PASE. It's practical, action, social, and emotional. Absolutely. Every time.
I'm just giving you a hard time, bro.
No. It's not hard at all because I do understand exactly what you're talking about. But see, you're speaking to a certain demographic. And guess what? Like, people that do listen, they hear you and they go, I'm going to resonate with Justin. I like what he's saying. It hits me more true. I'm going to go his way. But I guarantee you, whether it be, because I'm not here to change the world, right? I'm here to change ideally one person. Because for me, I have to measure stuff. And that measurement shows me that progress. And if I can't measure it, I don't believe I'm managing it.
Right.
So when I create this formula, I do a set, and I don't want to say like I'm a case study of its success, but I am a happy individual. I am healthy. I am financially independent. I have great relationships with my family and friends and associates, and I'm a happy individual. And the reason I have that is because you're right. If I were to hand this formula over to somebody, it's too much. But if I hand it to another practical mind, a nerd like me that understands it, they can go, what is my physical health 1 through 10? What is my mental health 1 through 10? And they just go through this chart. And then it's beautiful because they get to see the problems in their life, and now they know where to go work. That's what I do. At the end of every year, I'll do this chart and I'll go, how's my physical health? To where I want it to be. Where's my mental health? What about my income? Oh, perfect. I know, me personally right now, I know I need to go work on my perspective on some stuff.
Yeah, but can't that vary based on the day, the mood that you're in that day? Based on the sleep you had the night prior.
100%.
You know what I mean? So is that a good metric to go off of?
So
when it can vary so widely in range?
Ideally I do it in a clear mind, right? I love the fitness aspect, right? So if I were to say, when I help my friends in the physical space and I go, hey, I want you to you want to lose weight. Perfect. Cool. Not fat, weight, right? I'm going to have you weigh yourself every day. And by the way, here's me getting complicated again. But the reason I like complication is because it will give me an absolute answer. I don't want you to weigh yourself every Monday. I want you to weigh yourself every day, Monday through Sunday. I want you to add that up, and I want you to divide by 7. I want that to be your true weight. And then the next week, I want you to weigh yourself Monday through Sunday, add that up, divide it by 7, and then subtract, and see if you lost weight. And guess what? If that number says 0, then we need to change something. But that number right there is so conclusive that what we're doing isn't working. Obviously, 2 weeks isn't a big time frame, but it's so conclusive that what we're doing isn't working, that it's so true that now we have to make a decision. Versus we know that the body fluctuates between 3 to 4, maybe 5 pounds every day, just depending on what did you eat, how was your sleep, what was your Did you take a piss or use a restroom beforehand? That can be discouraging to people. I don't know if it's emotional people. I'm just speaking from the perspective of a practical person. Is like, if I tell you, hey, I want you to weigh yourself every Monday, and let's use simple numbers. So you weigh like 200 pounds, you're trying to lose weight, and then you weigh yourself on the next Monday and you weigh 202. Is that going to be encouraging or discouraging? It's going to be discouraging, ideally, to a typical person, but it might not be true. I want the truth. I want the complication because it leads to absolutes. And I want to direct and steer my life based off absolutes.
But you know that even your absolute quest is never going to be absolute.
For sure. But I'm going to try to make it as most as I can.
But right there, I mean, you understand that there is a plus or minus here no matter what end of the spectrum you facilitate off of. You're trying to search for an absolute, or you're trying to just be, good.
But I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for measurable progress. Right?
I had a podcast with a guy, you might know him. His name's Bradley, and one of the first things he told me.
Wait, like the Bradley?
Yeah, and one of the first things he told me was, he said, something that you said, which is what resonated with me based on my conversation with him. He said, that which doesn't get managed doesn't get monetized, my friend. And I had everything in me. Well, what I did say was, I'm paraphrasing here. You can go back and listen to the episode, but I remember saying something to the effect of, I just don't want to concern myself with analytics because I do not want it to disrupt my focus and my quest, which is doing the podcast.
You've always been great
in
at
general.
That. I can applaud that. That's resonated through you for decades. But let's say you were yourself on every episode that you've ever done, right? And then you go back and you look at the analytics, and one resonated with your audience more than others. It doesn't mean to change it. Maybe go more in depth. Maybe expand off the thought. Ironically, this is exactly what we do as marketers. So when we do an ad, right, and it's successful, it's called horizontal or vertical expansion. Horizontal is either we just increase the budget, so we put more money into it, right? So like you have a successful podcast and you want it to be heard more. So like, which one are you going to choose? Well, you are going to go to those analytics and see which one resonated with your viewers the most and put that one out because that's your best foot forward. And then vertical is you see what ad or podcast is the best. And instead of increasing the budget, you're just going to expand off subjects. So let's say you have a really good back and forth with an atheist and a Christian, right? Have another atheist on. Have an agnostic on. You're still being genuine to yourself, and you're just allowing the data to,
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess what I was referring to when he said that, and that makes utter and complete sense, I think the way I chose to receive it was,
be different.
I have to succumb to the public and what they want. And that's what I was against, because then that's letting the public make me. And I don't want that.
No, yeah. And it wouldn't be you.
And maybe he didn't mean it that way, but I will say this. I have a sound engineer that does all of my analytics, and he sometimes gives me data that's very
overwhelming.
No. He knows I don't want that. He knows he gives me the very simple data, very just minimal, and he doesn't get into the weeds of things, and because he knows I don't care, I don't want to know, and I just want to focus on what I'm doing and just do it and just pump out the content and the material that I'm curating here. And so it's his job to do. Maybe he should have had the conversation with Brad, and he should have been able to, I guess, receive what he was saying, because I wasn't really understanding what he was saying, and if I took it that way, I was taking the ways of I don't want to think about that sort of thing, because I just want to focus on the task at hand and not get bewildered by the critiques or the analytic or the critiques or the accolades or the analytics.
Well, you almost don't want it to affect you.
Right.
Like even if I were to give you the data and the analytics, like you don't want to know it.
Right.
Because you know yourself so well that subconsciously it might be like, oh, maybe I should talk more about this subject.
The hindering. And I don't want that. Yeah. I just want to focus on what's got me here to this point and not lose sight of that.
I'm the same way. Yeah. By the way, there's a lot of people like Joe Rogan doesn't read his comments, right? Jordan Peterson has his wife view subjects that are up for discussion, but Jordan doesn't want to see it. And then his wife just gives him some, probably the same thing that your audio guy does. Just gives him a little, not anything
Right.
to influence him, but just a little. See, I love that stuff because I'm after progress, not perfection. So like I go into those weeds. I look at those charts. I see what's working, what's not. And we're obviously talking on a marketing level, but with my life circumstance formula, I do the same thing. And by the way, I'm never changing me. I'm never like, oh, I'm gonna, do nothing against CrossFit, just personally not. I like weightlifting. I'm not gonna go, oh, I'm gonna, CrossFit would better my life. It's like I enjoy powerlifting, so I'm gonna powerlift. I'm just gonna powerlift different. Yeah.
I have to ask this because
Whatever you want, brother.
this is like the, I'm sure people listening to this podcast during the new year, they want to know, what to do to be a better me in 2023. What kind of advice do you have for people going in? Please don't say something cliche, and please don't give some lame platitude. Give me authentic expression of what you feel people should do if they're not good right now going into this new year, as if this new year is somehow magical in the day January 1st from December 31st. What should they do to be better?
It's a good question. You've got me second guessing if my answer would be generic, but it's registering.
I mean, if it's generic, it's generic. That just means you're a generic person, my friend.
I'm actually
You're not generic, though. So that's why I ask you.
I would consider myself very basic.
I'm basic too, man, but I'm not a knockoff. I'm not a copyright. I'm an individual. I'm an original copy. And I think that's what you are as well. So that's why I asked you that question, because I think you're going to have an original answer. And you don't have to be politically correct here.
No. Yeah.
It's straight from the chest. You don't have to be any way politically correct.
Well, so we know a simple answer would be nice. I digress.
Everybody understands the simple answers.
I know.
Give people a dose of reality and truth.
My truth is...
No. Not your truth. The truth. From what you've experienced, the data you've collected, based on the years you've been alive.
Of what somebody can do.
Well, what do you think? What kind of advice would you give people moving into the new year?
Now my troll brain wants to say something that's going to make you laugh.
Give it to me, my friend.
Okay. I do 3 things every day, right? So I have an obsession with being better. I think people overcomplicate becoming better. I think they create these goals that are so large that they become overwhelming, that they do nothing because they're crippled by the size of the amount that they see, okay? I say maybe because I don't like telling people how to live their lives. Potentially try these 3 things. I do these 3 things every day. They make me a better person. That's it. I have to physically stimulate my body. That's 1, okay? I have to mentally stimulate my body or my mind, and I have to contribute to somebody else's happiness. If I do these 3 things every day, I'm a better person. If I go, and by the way, it can be anything to the caliber of the person. If that is walking a block, walk a block. If that is reading 1 page, 10 page, or a paragraph, read that. If it is sending flowers to your mother and reminding her how much you love her, or commenting on one of your friends, subscribing to one of your friends' podcasts, it's as simple as that. I would say start small to grow big. That's my message. I do these 3 things. And by the way, typically, I always loved I think it was really well done, ironically, in a DC movie of Batman when Flash was terrified to go in and like save people. Batman says one thing. He just goes, just save 1. Right? Do you remember the scene?
Mm-mm.
So the scene is they're about to go in. There's a bunch of hostages. This guy's terrified. And he goes, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And of course, Batman could probably say an answer that I would say, right? Very complex. Like, grab this one, start in the front, work in the back, whatever. He goes, just save 1. He goes, just save 1? Okay. Runs in, saves 1, brings him back. The association's there. I know what to do. Right?
Mm.
So if we're physically stimulating our body, mentally stimulating our mind, contributing to somebody else's happiness, start small. Go on that walk. Do that walk for a week, a month if you need to. Just get in the routine. Read a page. It's one more page than you didn't read. Guess what? 200 days later, you read a book and contributed to somebody else's happiness. Takes a second. By the way, I typically do it online. Just go on somebody's feed. I see you post something. I say, proud of you, brother. Congrats. Keep pushing. Whatever it is. Do that every day.
That's actually really good advice, man.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's coming from a genuine stance with that person too. Like when they contribute, they're not doing it because it's forced.
No.
They're doing it because they want to do that. But yeah, I mean, doing all those things, that's great advice, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think that, the onus is on the person to actually do those things every day, and you can't help them do that.
You can't.
That just is one of those things that they have to adopt and make a part of their life, make a part of their daily ritual.
But doesn't it help to have a friend or a coach to remind them? Because listen, I'm a big aspect of discipline too, but Zig Ziglar said it best. He said he was referring to a lot of people like who have to motivate themselves daily as kind of a weakness, and he goes, "Don't we have to bathe every day?"
No, you don't have to bathe every day.
Well, to not proper hygiene. You're right. Let's not. We could get into the
weeds of it.
Yeah, we could get into the weeds of that.
I know you have to
Let's
drink
keep it
water.
simple.
You have to drink water every day.
I
would say you have to drink.
But do you see what I'm saying? It's
yes.
like it is interesting because I'm curious of your perspective right now. Is you are not when you described a man, I was curious, right? You did describe like the ideal man, disciplined, protective, a provider, but I don't see men like that, right? And I certainly wasn't a man like that in the beginning, and I became that way by watching other great men, and it wasn't by them expecting me to be that, right? Like I can give you great examples of when I was an iron worker. Like first day on the job, they're like, tie that up. I don't know how to tie. They would just yell at me, right? Just do it. Just do it. I'm like, my brain goes, I don't know what I'm doing, man. And they're like, just do it. So I'll wrap it up. It's super sloppy. That's wrong. Do it again. A man. And by the way, the guy that was yelling at me, I would not consider a man. The man who took the time to go, I'm gonna show you this once, and you're going to show me that you're paying attention by watching and doing it, took the time, showed me the knot. That to me, by the way, was a man.
Sure. Well, he's a leader.
A leader.
And that's what a man is. A man is a leader.
Yeah.
And, the other guy was just yelling at you. He was emotionally wound.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one was more rational in his dispensary or his ability to distribute his words to you. So he was saying, and he was giving you boundaries by saying, I'm going to do this one time. You're going to show me how to
I love it.
do
He
it.
was creating
right. But
severity.
that's a leader, and
Yeah.
that's what leaders do. So the other aspect of being a man, not only being a protector, provider, but is to be a leader. So, and the reason why that is not really that prevalent nowadays is because of the ways that media teaches men how to be in this feminist movement.
Yeah. That's,
And so it's very much suppressing to the man because it's almost like they don't know how to be anymore.
I don't blame him.
And that's where we have to go back to our primitive state and how we operated in the more the primal aspects. That is what grew us into the men that we are now and how we've been wired since a millennia. And that's what makes us really, that's what allows people to lean on us. And in terms of security and refuge, what is a man if he can't come to your need or your aid or be a help of service to you, So that's why I was, illustrating those points of being a provider, protector, etc. But I should have added being a leader. But I think by way of you being a protector, being a provider.
I would agree. It's a hard correlation of
Sure.
some of these words, umbrella, other terms.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that is for men in general. We're not asking women to be that.
Correct. Sometimes, like when I hear you speak, and it could be a misinterpretation, I hear you're saying like men should be men, right? Is that a fair statement? Men should be men. But I'm curious, like my equations, the reason I create those is I knew where I was going is going to be a path that others could follow. I'm curious how you think, men become men. Like I had to follow other people, and your interpretation is like men should be men. My question to you is, how does that
Is
happen?
that my interpretation though?
I don't know.
Or is that what I'm conveying? Men should be men?
Yeah.
Or am I saying there is a laundry list of things you need to accrue to be a man?
Interesting that you say a long list. What is that list?
You need to be well adept in being a man, which means you need to be strong, be able to make money, be able to provide security and refuge to a family, more off a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you need to be able to lead not only your woman, your child, and even be a leader in your community. You need to be respected by not only men around you, but women around you. So you should be somebody to look up to.
Yeah, trusted.
Okay, so you need to create something that is of prominent value to you and other people. One that provides a betterment to others, and another that provides a betterment and a legacy to your family and to your lineage or to your name. That's what I mean by being a good man.
I agree. How do you convey that to someone that isn't a man?
Just how I said it.
But it's not a like tangible.
No, it's not. There is no. You're asking for a step-by-step process.
Almost, yeah.
This is not a step-by-step process. If I was to outline a step-by-step process, I would say fail. I would say fail more.
That's a good list.
I would say be willing to go through things that are challenging.
Yeah.
Immerse yourself purposely in things that are challenging that you don't think you can conquer. Develop confidence out of the things that you did accomplish, because that's going to develop competency, and competency leads or breeds confidence.
I agree.
And then you become more of the man that you always aspired to be.
And this is only my practicalness. I agree with what you're saying. That is a way. Do you think it's the most, I shouldn't say most. Do you think that there would be a more effective and efficient way for that to happen? Which would be...
I'm sure, but you're talking about speaking to different psychological profiles and the way that they interpret things.
Generally, I agree.
Right, but 100%. We're talking about in general. I'm not going to dispense with all these different ways to fit your psychological profile.
No, I agree.
In general,
it's kind of nice.
How you become a man.
You were almost painting Maslow's hierarchy of need.
I don't know what that is.
I'll show you afterwards. Maslow was a guy that also tried to figure out what life was, and he created this pretty much like a pyramid of what you have to do to build a foundation prior to reaching self-actualization. And the bottom's pretty much the basics, right? Food, water, sleep, sex, I forget the word he uses for using the restroom. And then the top of that is pretty much like safety and security. So, for your family, finances. And then it's the creative aspect, which is you kind of becoming yourself. You get, you've obviously covered yourself, and now you're covering your bases, and now you get to be a little creative. And then at the top is self-actualization. So you were almost painting this beautiful photo of like, first get your shit together. And then once your shit's together, get your finances in order, become a good person, provide security to your family. And then once all that's done, that's when you start to get to play in the realm of like really figuring out who you are. Now you're a man. Figure out who you are now. And then at some point, honestly, I haven't figured out the leap from this step to self-actualization, but at some point you get to take this leap of...
Well, that's where time comes in handy, because you haven't lived a long time yet. So
I have not.
That's the reason why you can't put that type of a weight on your shoulders, because really what you have to do now is just let time run its course.
Absolutely.
And me too. Yeah. I mean, men don't really come into themselves being men until they're around their upper 30s, lower 40s.
Yeah.
we don't really mature into that process until we're around that age.
I don't think I was a person until I was like 27.
Right. So it's like we still have time to run through. We have to allow now time run its course.
If time allows it, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, if it does, yeah. Beautiful combo, my friend.
Hey, man.
We're going to do it again when you're back in town.
We'll have a part 2 for sure.
Tell people where they can find you if they are not
I am
already following
at
you.
No Joke J, and that's just the letter J on everything.
Facebook, Instagram, everything.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it, bro.
Make it simple.
Until next time, my friend.
A pleasure.
Done.